Name's Jake Rollins. I run long haul out of Texas, mostly Eastrial junk no one cares to think about unless it stops showing up. I've been on the road long enough to know the difference between a bad feeling and a real problem. Now I'll be the first to tell you, sometimes they overlap. I used to think experience made you bulletproof. Truth is, it just teaches you when the hit's coming. This one started like any other run. Tuesday morning, sun just coming up over Beaumont, I rolled out of the yard with a half-full trailer headed to New Orleans. Just past 7, weather was clean, little humid, not bad for summer. Truck was running fine. 2019 Freightliner Cascadia, decent miles, got a new set of tires last month. Dispatch said the load was light, well-strapped, no special permits, straightforward. Route was the usual, I-10 straight across, maybe a stop near Lafayette for coffee if the timing worked. I had a podcast rolling, black coffee in the cup holder, nothing on my mind but the next fuel stop. About an hour past Lake Charles, somewhere near Jennings, I saw the first odd thing. A message board hanging over the interstate, blinked up sudden. HAZMAT leak ahead, exit now. Big orange letters, real official looking. I've seen plenty of legit warnings like that, but there's a certain rhythm to the way they come. First you hear chatter on the CB, then it pops up on your GPS alerts, then you get a backup of trucks all doing the same thing. But this time silence. No chatter on 19 or 9. No slowdowns, just me, cruising at 63 in the right lane with the occasional box truck or cattle rig passing by. I turned down the podcast and flipped over to CB again, tried a call. Any eastbound copy on that HAZMAT warning? You seeing that up top? Nothing. Just static and maybe one guy mumbling about bad brakes in the distance. GPS showed no incident, no reroute. I tapped through my ELD screen, still green. No alerts from dispatch either. I slowed up a touch, keeping an eye out for brake lights or any sign of traffic building ahead. A couple miles later, the sign showed up again, this time mounted lower on a trailer parked just off the right shoulder. Same message, HAZMAT, leak, mandatory exit. And just up ahead, sure enough, was an exit ramp. Small one, not a major junction, 2-lane off to a parish road with nothing but trees and swamp on either side. I'd passed this exit a dozen times before and never noticed anything out there. But this time, something else caught my eye. Parked just beyond the gore point, half in the grass, was a dusty silver pickup, older Chevy, maybe early 2000s. 2 guys in yellow vests were standing next to it, looking like they were directing traffic, only there wasn't any. One of them had a flashlight. At 8 in the morning, sun was full up. That's when the itch started. Not panic, not yet, but I've learned to listen to that itch.
I downshifted, flicked on my hazard lights, and rolled into the breakdown lane right before the exit, put her in neutral, set the brake, watched. A flatbed about a half-mile behind me took the ramp. I saw him slow down near the pickup. The 2 guys waved him off the road and into the trees. That's no kind of standard protocol. I've seen HAZMAT cleanups before. There's cones, uniforms, sometimes troopers. Not just 2 dudes in vests with a beat-up truck and no markings. I grabbed my phone, took a photo of the pickup from a distance, zoomed in, couldn't make out plates. Looked like there were none. I toggled over to the Louisiana DOT site. Nothing listed, no incidents, no closures, nothing. My thumb hovered over the shifter. I didn't want to believe what I was thinking. Could be some kind of drill. Could be backcountry contractors called in for minor containment. Could be a glitch in the system. Or it could be a setup. I'd heard stories. Fake DOT stops near state lines. Cargo lifted right off the trailer. Driver locked in a porta-john until morning. Most of those stories are just noise, passed around like ghost tales at truck stops. But once in a while you hear one that sticks. This was starting to feel like that. As I sat there thinking, the guy with the flashlight turned and pointed straight at me. Just stood there, arm out, no movement, not waving, not signaling, just pointing, like he was waiting. That broke it. I dropped her into gear, clicked off the hazards, and eased back onto the road. Kept her slow till I was past the exit, then rolled back up to cruising speed. Didn't look in the mirror till I was a full mile clear. When I finally glanced back, they were still there. One of them had a phone out, maybe filming. The sign on the trailer was dark now, just blank, like it had never said anything. I kept rolling, feeling the tension settle low in my gut like bad diesel. I didn't know what I'd just seen, but it wasn't nothing, and it sure as hell wasn't right. After I passed that exit, I kept glancing in the mirrors every few minutes, half expecting that silver pickup to pull out and come after me, but nothing showed. Highway stretched out ahead like it always does, same old rhythm, but it didn't feel normal anymore. I kept chewing it over. That flatbed I saw take the ramp never came back into view. No sign of him behind me. I gave it another 10 miles, then eased over to the shoulder again near a wide pullout just past a bayou curve. Popped the brakes, pulled my phone, and started digging. First thing I checked was my GPS app, the same one dispatch uses. No HAZMAT alerts anywhere near me. Not for miles. Nothing popped up for Louisiana at all. I refreshed the DOT page too. Same deal. No road closures, no emergency updates, nothing. I checked Twitter, Reddit, even that janky old forum some of the older guys still post on. Nothing. One guy mentioned construction near Baton Rouge, but it had nothing to do with HAZMAT.
If there really was a chemical leak bad enough to reroute trucks, it would have been all over the place by now. CB's still quiet. Too quiet for this part of I-10. I pulled out the photo I took of the pickup, zoomed in. Still couldn't make out the plate. Might have been removed or just covered in grime. The guys in vests didn't have anything with DOT or emergency response printed on them. No gloves, no masks, no signage. Just regular reflective vests like you'd see on a traffic crew. Could have been two guys fresh off a roofing job for all I know. What bugged me most was how they waved that flatbed off the road like they owned it. That's not how state guys act. State guys got protocol, radios, badges, hell, even cones. I stayed pulled over for a few more minutes watching for that truck to come back around or maybe for a trooper to show up. Nothing. Eventually, I put the rig back in gear and rolled out. I kept the speed steady and eyes moving. A couple miles down, I saw another exit. Small, unmarked, didn't even have gas, just a narrow road through the trees. For a second, I thought about taking it, just to loop back and see what the hell was going on behind me. And I thought better of it. Whatever was happening back there, I didn't need to get closer to it. I had a job to finish. Then, maybe 20 minutes after the ramp incident, I saw something else. Another rig, a red Kenworth, about half a mile up, signaling to get off at a rest area. I figured I'd stop in too, maybe ask the guy if he saw anything. I pulled in slow, took a corner spot away from the main lot, killed the engine. The Kenworth was parked a few spaces over. Driver was already out, stretching his legs. White guy, maybe late 40s, camo hat, pair of sunglasses on the back of his neck. I walked over, tried to keep it casual. "Morning," I said. He nodded. "Yeah, feels like damn Florida already." "Tell me about it," I said, wiping sweat off my neck. "You see that HAZMAT sign back there, right before the bridge?" He frowned. "What sign?" Flashing one, said, "HAZMAT leak. Exit now." Couple guys in vests trying to wave trucks off. He squinted. "Where at?" "Just before mile 121, right before that little exit with nothing but woods." He shook his head. "Didn't see it. I got on just past there. Maybe they pulled it down already." "You hear anything on the radio about it?" "Nah. But then again, my CB's busted." "You check DOT?" "Yeah. Nothing on the app. Nothing online either." He looked thoughtful. "Sounds like a damn setup. I heard some chatter last year about fake scales near Tarkasana, guys losing loads." "That's what I was thinking," I said. He pulled out his phone, tapped around a bit. "Got a buddy does private security runs for Big Pharma. Said there's been cargo theft crews getting slick. using spoof DOT signs. They make them look real as hell. LED trailers, battery packs, whole nine. I nodded slowly. Yeah, this one looked real. But the guys? Just two dudes. Pickup with no plates.
He snorted. Plates come off easy. You get a shot of them? Yeah, blurry though. Well, he said, tossing his bottle cap into the trash, and I'd say keep rolling, and don't stop again till Baton Rouge. Plan to, I said. I thanked him, headed back to my rig. I sat for a minute before starting up. The sun was higher now, baking the pavement. Sweat pooled under my shirt before the AC kicked in. I got rolling again, this time with both mirrors adjusted tighter, and I kept my phone close. Didn't even bother flipping the podcast back on. My ears were open now. About 10 miles before Lafayette, traffic thinned down again, which was strange for that stretch. Usually gets tighter with morning delivery runs. I scanned every overpass for another sign. Nothing. But I noticed a dirt patch beside the road with deep tire grooves leading into the brush. Fresh tracks. Too wide for a car, too shallow for a tow rig. Might have been another truck or a makeshift pullout someone used. Either way, it got under my skin. I hit a Shell stop just west of the city. Real place, decent security cameras, and I know the owner. Old Vietnamese guy named Min. Been running it since the 90s. Always keeps an eye on things. When I walked in, he gave me the usual nod. "Coffee in the pot," he said. "Hazelnut today." "Appreciate it," I said, filling up. "Hear anything weird this morning? HAZMAT stuff?" He raised an eyebrow. "You see truck exit back by swamp?" "Yeah," I said, but didn't take it. "Two trucks come through early. One go in, not come out. One stop, back up, then go fast past here." "You got cameras on the back lot?" "Sure do." I left it at that. Took my coffee, sat in the rig, and stared at the lot exit for a few minutes. There was something brewing out there. Something smart enough to fake authority, quiet enough not to trip alerts, and bold enough to try it in daylight. I didn't know what they were after. Cargo, maybe? Or the trailer itself? But they'd tried to funnel me off, and they weren't improvising. This was planned. I messaged dispatch, just a quick note. Told them I'd seen something sketchy near mile 121. No need for drama, just logged it so it wouldn't vanish if I ended up having to explain myself later. I didn't expect a reply and didn't get one. As I pulled out of the lot and merged back on I-10, I kept the wheel steady, but my eyes were working overtime. The load in the back wasn't worth stealing unless someone was fishing for anything they could flip. Maybe they didn't even care what it was, just wanted the rig. Or maybe they didn't care about the rig either. Maybe they just wanted to stop the right guy. That's when it really started to crawl under my skin. Not that they were stealing, but that they weren't. That they were looking for someone or something. And I just happened to be close. By the time I cleared Lafayette, I was running 2 hours steady without stopping, nerves tight and eyes jumping from mirror to mirror.
The road was calm, nothing but heat shimmer and the low hum of tires. But my head wasn't calm. It was buzzing. That exit back by the bridge stuck with me like a bad echo. I kept thinking about the flatbed that turned off. I never saw him again. No way to know what happened to him. Maybe he was in on it. Maybe he wasn't. Either way, he disappeared. I figured it was time to hear some outside voices. I flipped the CB back to 19 and let it roll. It took a few minutes, but eventually a couple drivers popped up, shooting the usual bull about weather and rest areas. One guy mentioned a way station up ahead might be open. I keyed in. "Breaker 19, eastbound near mile 160. Any copy on that HAZMAT alert back by Atchafalaya?" Silence for a beat, and someone answered. "You mean that flashing sign saying to exit?" "Yeah, I saw it. Didn't stop, smelled funny." "Same," I said. "Didn't look right to me. You hear anything official on it?" "Negative," he came back. "No troopers, no wreckers, no nothing. Just two dudes with vests and a trailer sign." I kept rolling. Another fella behind me peeled off, though. "You see him come back?" "Nope, never saw him again." Another voice crackled in, younger, more nervous. "I took that exit last week, man.
Different spot, but same kind of deal. Said chemical spill. 2 guys in safety gear flagging me down. I got halfway down the road and realized there ain't no cleanup crew, no vehicles, no markings. Just a pull-out spot and a guy asking about my cargo. I backed up and got out of there. Who were they? I asked. No clue. Didn't stick around. Told them I was calling DOT and they suddenly changed tone. Said I was free to go. Creepy as hell. It got real quiet on the line after that. Nobody wanted to speculate, but they were thinking the same thing I was thinking. Someone out there was staging fake emergencies to get drivers off the road. And not just for fun. This was targeted, organized, maybe even rehearsed. I kept driving. Baton Rouge wasn't far now, maybe an hour out with the way traffic was moving. Normally I'd be easing off the gas by now, figuring out where to stop for lunch, maybe find a lot with shade, but my stomach wasn't interested, and I wasn't planning on stopping unless I absolutely had to. About 15 miles out from the city, I called up Louisiana DOT on the hands-free. Got through to a woman with a flat voice and a list of protocols longer than my rig. State Highway Office, this is Carla. Yeah, hi, name's Jake Rollins. I drive freight. Just reporting something odd I passed this morning. Flashing HAZMAT sign right before the Atchafalaya Bridge. Guys in vests, unmarked truck. You folks got anything going on back there? Give me the mile marker again. Right around 121, I think. Small exit. Looked like a back road. She clicked away on her keyboard for a bit. I heard the clacking nails. Nothing reported there. No spills, no closures, no maintenance. No cleanup? No, sir. So that wasn't y'all?
No, sir, she repeated. You see any state vehicles? No, ma'am, just 2 guys with a sign trailer. More silence. Then, you said unmarked truck? Old Chevy, no visible plates. Pointed a flashlight at my cab in full daylight. Didn't look official. You have dash cam footage? I do. Haven't pulled it yet. Would you be willing to submit it? Sure. Where to? She gave me an email. I wrote it down. She thanked me for the report and said someone might follow up. That was it. Call ended. Real clean. Too clean. I hung up and sat there thinking. If DOT didn't know about it and no police showed, then someone had just hijacked a state sign trailer or built one from scratch. That takes effort, tools, time, and balls. 10 minutes later, I got a text from a buddy of mine out of Shreveport. Guy named Barnell, solid driver, used to run private freight for a defense contractor. Keeps his ear to the ground. Text just said, "You seen the fake leak stunt near I-10? Happened west of BR last week. One guy lost a whole reefer, no trace." I called him right back. He answered on the second ring. "Yeah?" "Darnell, it's Jake. Just saw it myself." "Where?" "Mile 121, eastbound, just past the swamp. Same setup, sign trailer, guys with vests. You stop?" "Hell no." Good. Last guy who did ended up walking back to the highway. Truck gone. Cops ain't got leads. What was he hauling? Meat, refrigerated, expensive stuff. Someone had the tools to cool and reroute it within 2 hours. Insurance covered it, but the guy ain't driven since. Says it felt like he was being hunted. I looked at the windshield, watching trees blur past. "You think it's a crew?" "Oh yeah," Darnell said. "Not amateurs either. They're picking targets, not just grabbing trailers at random. I think they're watching trucks ahead of time." That landed hard. "You're saying they're tailing us before we even hit the trap?" "Could be. You picked up at that yard in Beaumont, right?" "Yeah. I bet you were spotted there. Lot of low fences and blind angles. Easy to get footage of who's hauling what." "Jesus." "Yeah. Be careful, man. Don't stop anywhere quiet. Don't answer any unknown calls saying they're from dispatch. Only use the app." We said our goodbyes, and I promised to stay sharp. After Baton Rouge, things got even quieter. The highway opened up, fewer trucks around me. That's when I noticed something in my mirror again. A white SUV, maybe a Chevy Tahoe or something like it. Government looking, but clean. no plates on the front, and the back was muddy, like someone intentionally blocked the tag. He'd been sitting back about a quarter mile for the last 10 minutes. Not gaining, not falling, just there. I tapped the brakes lightly to see if it reacted. It didn't. Stayed back. I changed lanes, then changed again. So did it. That's when I knew I had company. Not a trooper, not a random driver, someone with time and gas to spare, watching me. I took the next exit fast. Didn't
Punched the gas a bit. Rolled through the stoplight and into a big truck lot with a diner and a couple other rigs parked up. Cut across the far end and re-entered the highway from the on-ramp without stopping. I checked the mirror again. No SUV. Either he kept rolling or he turned off before following. I didn't care which. I was back on I-10 and headed for New Orleans, and from here on out I wasn't stopping for anything that didn't have a badge and 3 other marked vehicles around it. The sign might have been fake, but the attention, that was real. Somewhere past Gonzales, I made a decision to stop playing defense. I needed someone with a badge to eyeball my rig, just to clear my head. I knew it was clean. I loaded it myself, straps checked, seal untouched, but I wanted confirmation. Not from dispatch, not from a buddy, from someone official. So I pulled into the way station just east of Sorrento. Didn't get a bypass signal, which suited me fine this time. Rolled in slow, hazards on, and stopped at the marker. They waved me to secondary. A trooper came out. Mid-50s, lean, no rush in his step. The kind that's been doing this long enough not to bark unless he smells something real. His patch said Landry. He motioned me to step down. I grabbed my manifest, climbed out. "Morning, sir," I said. "Morning," he replied, giving the truck a quick walk around with his eyes. "Where you headed?" "New Orleans, industrial freight out of Beaumont. Nothing hazmat, nothing sensitive." "Mind if I take a look at the back?" "Nope," I said, popping the seal and swinging the doors open. "Still locked. Seal number matches my papers." He nodded, checked it, didn't touch much. "All looks normal," he said. Then he paused, looked me in the eye. "You stopped back near mile 121 earlier today?" That threw me. I nodded slowly. Pulled off the shoulder when I saw a flashing HAZMAT sign. Didn't take the exit. "Why?" "Just asking," he said. Too flat. Then he looked over his clipboard again and added, "You see anyone back there?" 2 guys in vests, unmarked truck. Looked like they were flagging drivers off the road and into the trees. That's why I kept going. He nodded again, slower this time. "All right," he said. "You're good to go. Keep that dashcam footage if you've got it. Might be useful." He didn't ask for it, just said that, and turned back to his booth. That was enough for me. I closed the doors, sealed it back up, climbed in, and rolled out. But my head was spinning. He knew about 121, which meant someone filed something. Maybe a report, maybe just chatter. Either way, they were watching it too. Not long after that, I pulled off I-10 for fuel near La Place. Real station, good sight lines, never had a problem there. I topped off, checked the tires, did a slow walk around. That's when I spotted the drone.
It was maybe 100 feet up, hovering a bit off the lot, almost over the service road behind the station. Not buzzing close, not doing loops, just holding steady, like it was watching, maybe surveying, maybe logging plates. I looked around. Nobody nearby had a controller out. No kids, no hobbyist. Just a couple cars fueling up and one guy on a bench eating chips. I walked inside to get a receipt and asked the clerk, young guy with a neck tattoo, if he'd seen the drone. He looked up, squinted. "Yeah, I've been there like 20 minutes, he said. "Thought it was for Google or something. Survey drone, maybe?" "Not from Google," I said. "They don't loiter." I stepped back outside. The drone had moved, just a bit, still keeping its distance, but I could feel it watching. Or maybe I was just cooked from the heat and suspicion. Either way, I was done sitting still. I got back in the cab, locked the doors, and rolled out slow. Checked the mirrors. Drone wasn't following, but I didn't trust it. I killed my Bluetooth, turned off Wi-Fi on the dash tablet, unplugged the GPS dongle from the diagnostic port. If someone was watching me through that truck's systems, they'd be blind now, or at least deaf. A few miles later, I stopped at a tire shop I knew, backwoods place run by an older guy named Carl, ex-fleet mechanic. Lives in his shop, basically. I pulled in, told him I wanted a quick undercarriage scan. Didn't say why, just called it a gut check. He raised an eyebrow. Everything feeling loose? Everything feels watched. He didn't ask more. Just got his creeper, slid under, poked around with a flashlight. 15 minutes later, he rolled back out, wiped his hands on a rag. Truck's clean, he said. No beacons, no tags, no magnets. No one's tracking you from underneath. What about in the cab systems? You need an IT guy for that, he said. But most of the junk they sneak in nowadays needs power. You pull all your smart systems? Yeah. Then you're probably good, at least from amateurs. I nodded. Thanks, Carl. He gave me a look. Whatever this is, I'd finish your route and lay low for a while. Don't trust calls you don't recognize. As I rolled back out, and that stuck with me, don't trust the calls. So, I turned off my main phone and powered up my burner. I use it only for roadside emergencies. No apps, no smart junk, just numbers I control. Clean slate. I got back on the highway, and within 20 minutes, my main phone lit up. Unknown number, no ID, no message, just a missed call. And a second one. Same number. Then a text came through. Important update regarding your delivery. Please pull over for verification. More info to follow. The text had a link. I didn't click it. I already knew where it was going. Instead, I screenshotted the number and sent it to Darnell. He called me 30 seconds later. That number ever call you? He said. You shut the phone off and don't answer. That's a spoofed logistics line. They copy dispatcher's language.
If you follow their instructions, they'll route you right into a trap. How the hell they get the number? Somebody's got access. Could be third-party broker leaks, could be lazy office clerks. Doesn't take much. I looked at the dash. My route to New Orleans hadn't changed. Straight shot in. But now, every mile felt like a risk. They know who I am, Darnell. Then finish the job and disappear for a bit. You don't owe these bastards a fair fight. I hung up, tossed the main phone into the glove box, and kept rolling. New Orleans was getting close, 45 minutes out. The drone hadn't come back, the SUV was gone, but now I had something worse. A name in a database, a phone number marked. Someone out there knew exactly what I was hauling, who I was, and how to talk like my dispatcher. That's not random. That's a hunt. Outside of Kenner, just as I was watching the skyline creep in through the haze, my burner buzzed. It was dispatch, real one this time. I'd given them the backup number in case of emergencies, and apparently this counted. Guy on the line was Carlos, mid-shift manager. Knows the routes, doesn't talk unless it matters. Jake, you close to drop? 40 out, I said. Why? Got a call from someone claiming to be a third-party inspector. Said they needed access to your load. Gave your name, knew the truck ID and trailer number. I felt my throat tighten. And you didn't send them, right? Hell no! I told them if they had real business, they'd go through the consignee directly. Then I pinged the client. They said they never heard of the guy. Name? Mike Hill. Probably fake. Yeah, I muttered. Probably. I pulled the truck onto a long, straight service road just off I-10, behind an outlet mall. Wide shoulders, no traffic. Killed the engine and scanned the surroundings. Nothing unusual, but now I was done playing passive. I needed to know if they'd come in close. Jake, Carlos said, still on the line, I don't like this. You're not the first. One of our eastbound guys last month got flagged down near Tallahassee by a guy saying he was an emissions auditor. Ended up being a full cargo jack. Never recovered, freight vanished. Cops found the truck shell dumped in a field 3 states over. You logged the spoofed call info? Yeah, I'll forward it to your burner. Appreciate it. Click. I hung up and waited.
3 minutes later, a text came through. Different number than the one I got before, but same pattern. No ID, formal tone, broken punctuation. Message read, "Per load security protocol, please divert to pre-approved inspection location at exit 221. Failure to comply may delay delivery." I didn't even need to think. Exit 221 was just up ahead. I'd passed it before. Small industrial area, couple empty warehouses, no marked businesses. Exactly the kind of place someone could park a trailer, rip it open, and vanish.
I stayed put, engine off, and pulled out a second phone. Not mine, one I'd found in a junk box at Carl's shop. Never activated, never used. I tethered it to a prepaid data stick, spoofed a location near the fake inspection site, and left it running with a GPS breadcrumb app open. If someone was watching for the signal, they'd follow it. I had a feeling they were relying on tech, not tailing with eyes. That's how modern crews do it. Follow the data, not the truck. 15 minutes later, I started up and rolled back onto the road. Stayed low speed, kept to the right, checked the mirrors constantly. That's when I saw it again. Different SUV this time, darker paint, no chrome, windows tinted, no plates I could read. Sitting in the median, angled just right to catch passersby, but not moving. I passed it doing 55, played dumb, didn't react. 2 minutes after I passed, it pulled out. Didn't speed, didn't get close, but it stayed back just like the last one. Just close enough to keep me in view. I took the next exit, one before 221. Didn't use the brakes hard, didn't swerve, just signaled and went. SUV kept rolling on the highway, didn't follow. So I circled back on a frontage road, cut through an old fuel depot, and came out near a small gas station. Parked behind it, engine idle, facing the road. 2 minutes passed, then 4. Then I saw it. Same SUV, coming down the side road slow. Didn't turn into the station, just crawled past, like they weren't sure if I had seen them or not. They passed, then took a left into the back lot of a closed supply company. I was being scanned, not followed like some Hollywood movie, but flagged in the system. They weren't chasing, they were fishing, letting the net drag the bottom to see what sticks. I called Carlos again. "I'm tailing by data," I said. "Your systems might have leaked." He cursed under his breath. "We had a software update 2 weeks ago. Third-party load board integration. I'll have IT check for breaches." "Too late for me," I said. "They're already out here. I'm skipping the drop and rerouting to the secured yard." "Understood. I'll notify the client." "And Carlos?" "Yeah?" "Scrub me off the tracking. I'm ghost until this drop's over." "You got it." I pulled the fuse on the GPS, shut down the ELD transmitter, and went dark. Old school trucking, just me, the road, and a paper atlas. It took me 2 hours to snake around the city the long way. I took feeder roads, back streets, and cut through a few shady neighborhoods where no one watches trucks too close. I kept a mental clock on everything. Never stopped more than 90 seconds. Every intersection I scanned for cars sitting too long. I caught glimpses of a white sedan once, maybe twice, but never close. Could have been coincidence, but I wasn't taking chances. When I pulled into the secured yard, it was dusk. High fencing, floodlights, 2 armed guards. One of them checked my manifest. The other did a full trailer walk.
They sealed me in the lot and told me to wait for the unload crew. I finally let myself breathe. The guard, older black guy with a neck like a tree stump, asked if I'd had trouble. I gave him a long look and said, "Not yet, but someone out there sure wants to." He nodded slow. "Yeah," he said. "We've been hearing stories, mostly whispered stuff. Fake dispatchers, flashing sign crews, the quiet kind of theft. The kind the feds don't chase because there's no shootout, just missing data and missing freight." He said it like he'd seen it himself. When I stepped out to stretch, he pointed to the sky. "You see any birds today?" I looked up. "Drone." "Yeah," he said. "They got new ones now, sit way higher. Can track tags and Bluetooth IDs. If your phone ain't wrapped in foil, it might as well be screaming." I pulled the burner and powered it down. He laughed. A little late now, but better late than never. Unloading took an hour. Everything intact, seals unbroken. The foreman signed off and handed me a printout. No notes, no issues. On paper, it was a perfect delivery, but the road had a different story. One I was starting to realize didn't end here. The next morning, sun barely up, I was still sitting in the corner of the secured lot, engine off, shoes off, just staring out through the mesh fence like a guy coming down from a long night in a bad bar. The freight was gone, clean drop, signed papers, no damage. But I didn't roll out. Not yet. Something about leaving that gate felt like stepping right back into the mess, like maybe they were still out there waiting for me to come back online. I finally got up, threw on my boots, and headed to the office trailer to grab the final paperwork. Yard manager, big Cajun guy named Roy, handed me to sign sheets and nodded toward my rig. He stirred up a little dust on this one. Had a couple unmarked vehicles watching the yard perimeter last night. My night guy logged them. Same SUVs? He gave a half shrug. Could have been. One of them sat near the corner lot on Airline Drive for about 20 minutes, then drove off when our security lights cycled. Other one parked across the street with a busted taillight. We called it in, but no one showed. I figures. You carrying something sensitive? No, standard freight. But I think someone thought it wasn't. He scratched his beard, not pushing. You done with the load now? Yeah. You heading back west? I might. Or I might take the long way round. Still deciding. He pulled out a little flash drive and slid it across the desk. We backed up your dash cam footage. My guys pulled it when you were parked out there last night. Thought you might want it. I picked it up. You look at it? Only the parts where you passed that HAZMAT sign. That wasn't no state sign. And that pickup? No plates, no decals, no equipment. Just two guys pretending to be something they weren't. Seen that kind of thing before? He nodded slowly.
Used to work recovery for stolen rigs back in the day. This ain't new, just more polished. Back then, they'd jack you at a rest stop. Now they try to make you walk in yourself. I pocketed the drive and shook his hand. Appreciate it, Roy. He leaned in a little. Next time you run east, call ahead. I'll tell you which exits to skip. I walked out, climbed into the cab, and fired her up. Let the engine idle while I reset my seat, rechecked the trailer locks. Habit, even though it was empty now. Pulled out slow through the gate, waved to the security guard. She didn't wave back. Eyes were on the street. Out on the main road, traffic was light. I headed west, back onto I-10, keeping to the right lane, keeping under 60. No rush now, just miles in memory. I stopped at a Pilot near LaPlace to grab coffee and catch my breath. Regulars were already lined up, half awake, trading the usual stories. I kept quiet, took my cup, sat at a corner table. Then a driver I didn't know, older guy with a sunburnt face and a denim vest, sat across from me without asking. "You Jake?" I looked up. "Yeah." He nodded. "I'm Will. Darnell told me to find you if I passed through this way." That got my attention. Darnell didn't send folks lightly. Will took a sip of his coffee and leaned forward. "You're not the only one they tried to pull." "Who's they?" "Still don't know, but they hit 2 other trucks last week. One in Alabama, one outside San Antonio. Same setup, digital signs, fake officials, isolated roads. Only reason the guy in Texas didn't lose his load is his kid was riding shotgun and started filming on his phone." I let that hang for a second. "You seen it?" "Yep. Trailer sign had DOT markings, but the font was wrong. Whole thing powered off a solar battery bank. No legit state setup rolls like that." "What happened after?" "They posted the video, took it down 2 hours later. Too many views too fast. Word is someone flagged it, maybe legal threats or maybe something else." I stared out the window, watching a flatbed ease into the lot. "They're working ahead of us," I said. "They knew my name, my trailer ID. They spoofed dispatch numbers." Will nodded. "They're tapped into a system. Could be load boards, could be brokers, maybe even your company's back end. Carlos is checking that." "Good, but don't wait on him. Change your number, swap your apps, clear your devices, wipe anything with your routes on it." I pulled out the burner, powered it back down, and slipped it into the side pocket of my duffel. "You heading back today?" Will asked. "Yeah, just need to breathe first." He stood up, grabbed his cup. "They're gonna keep trying. You slipped through once, that just makes you worth watching." Sat there a while longer after he left. Finally went back to the rig and checked everything again, more out of habit than worry. Seal gone, trailer empty, GPS still offline, but the cab felt tight, like the walls had ears.
I thought about that exit ramp again, how quick it all had been. A fake sign, 2 guys, 1 minute of doubt. That's all it takes out here. Back on the highway, I kept the CB low. Every now and then, someone would mention a strange slowdown or a weird detour, but nobody called it what it was. No one wants to be the guy who says the wrong thing on an open channel. Near Baton Rouge, I passed a trooper parked on the shoulder. He didn't move, just sat there with his arm out the window, sipping from a bottle. I rolled by slow, trying to catch his eye. Nothing. Like I was invisible. I crossed the Atchafalaya again that afternoon. Same bridge, same stretch of sky. No sign this time. No trucks pulled over. No pickups waiting in the trees. But that didn't settle me, because now I knew something I hadn't known before. It's not about the cargo. It's not even about the truck. It's about access. And the second you give it, even just a crack, they don't need to force the door open. They just wait for you to come out. After I cleared Baton Rouge and put a few hundred miles between me and that drop, I pulled into a dusty lot behind a diner in Jasper, Texas. Same place I used to hit back when I ran short hauls. Familiar gravel under the tires, same oil stains that had been there for years. The neon sign was half lit, flickering like it always did. I parked nose out, facing the road, at a habit now. Can't break that anymore. Inside, I sat at the corner booth, same one I always took. Waitress named Karen still worked the morning shift. She didn't say much, just refilled my coffee and slid a menu my way. I didn't need it. I wasn't hungry. I was still running everything over in my head, playing it back like a bad tape. From that first fake sign to the last handshake at the yard, every second of it felt too close. I sat there for a long time. Long enough for the regulars to come and go. Some pipeliner crew came in loud, full of morning energy. I felt like I was watching from another world. Didn't feel like one of them anymore. After a while, I pulled out the old spiral notebook I keep in the side pocket, flipped past fuel logs and maintenance notes, and started a new page. I wrote one line at the top. New rules. First one, no stopping near unmarked exits. Second, never trust a sign if it's not confirmed on the app or the CB. Third, if it feels off, it is. Fourth, always have 2 phones. Fifth, rotate routes, even if it costs time. Sixth, keep eyes on the mirrors, not the miles. I stared at that list for a while, then underlined the third rule 3 times. That one had almost cost me. Later that day, I drove back to Beaumont, dropped the trailer at the yard, and turned in my log. Dispatch didn't ask much. Carlos gave me a nod, handed over my next route sheet, eastbound again. I stared at it a second and handed it back. Need a couple days, I said. Carlos didn't argue. He just looked at me a little too long and said, "Take it."
I used those days to scrub everything. I wiped both phones, changed every password, dumped the GPS dongle, and ordered a new one straight from the manufacturer. I stopped using shared fuel cards. I started paying cash at the smaller stops when I could. Less data, less trace. I also called Darnell and told him I was pulling out of the shared dispatch thread we used. He understood. Said he was doing the same. Told me he'd talked to a couple other drivers who'd had similar setups happen outside of Nashville and another one north of Mobile. They were tightening their routes. Some even moved to smaller carriers just to stay off the radar. I couldn't blame them. That next week, I ran a short route up through Arkansas, then dipped into Oklahoma.
Back roads, 2-lane highways, gas stations where the cashier still hands you the key for the restroom on a stick. No signs, no signals, no fake inspectors. But I still checked every mirror, every lot, every time I fueled up. The truth is, something shifted in me after that. I don't drive the same way anymore. I still love the road, always will, but the trust I had in the system, in the idea that official meant safe, that's gone now, stripped out like an old gasket. I know too much, seen too much. There was a time I thought the danger came from other drivers, drunks, sleepy rookies, maybe a stray deer in the wrong lane. But now I know it can come dressed up like a DOT guy with a clipboard and a badge you can't verify, standing next to a trailer sign that tells you to exit for your safety. It can come through your dispatch line, through a fake call that knows your name and trailer number, through a text that sounds just legit enough. It doesn't matter how long you've been driving. Doesn't matter how careful you are. All it takes is 1 second of doubt, one wrong pull-off, one time you choose to listen to a voice that sounds like it knows better. I won't make that mistake again. Now, I run my own checks. I call 2 sources for any reroute. I don't stop anywhere that doesn't have cameras and trucks bigger than mine. I roll with the seat leaned forward, mirrors tight, and I never, ever take a ramp I didn't plan for. Sometimes I think about that flatbed I saw pull off back near the swamp, the one that didn't come back on the highway. I wonder what happened to him, if he's still driving, if he even still has a rig. Maybe he got lucky, maybe he got out clean, or maybe he learned the same thing I did, but too late. Some nights, when I'm parked and the lot gets real quiet, I go back and watch the dash cam clip. Not the whole ride, just the part where I passed the sign, slowed down and made the choice. I study the angle of the pickup, the way the guys in vests didn't wave like traffic control. They just stood there, too still, waiting. That image doesn't leave me. I don't think it ever will.